This is Channel 9 Eyewitness News at 11. Coverage you can count on.
Tonight, an image we will never forget. Two explosions rock people running and watching the Boston Marathon.
The fencing that holds the crowd back blew out forward and people were down.
Tonight, the president is vowing to catch the people behind this horrific attack.
We will find out who did this, and we will hold them accountable.
Tonight, at least 2 lawmakers have said this was a terrorist attack.
Here's what we know right now. 3 people are now confirmed dead. Reports say 1 is an 8-year-old boy. Just moments ago, the number of injured reached 140. Some have lost arms and legs in the explosions. The FBI is taking the lead in the investigation, and the National Guard has secured the explosion area as a crime scene. George Estevez has been monitoring every development since this news first broke just before 3 o'clock this afternoon. And George, we still have no idea who was behind this attack.
No, authorities do not, and officials just said they're only questioning people in local hospitals. And tonight, as we come to the end of Patriots Day in Boston, we realize not since 9/11 has an attack tested our sense of patriotism and resilience.
Oh my God. Oh my God. We've had an attack.
The explosion sent hundreds scrambling away from the finish line. Instant chaos. Watch the first explosion. And after that blast, panic. People trying to figure out what they just heard, where that explosion came from. And then, as runners and spectators tried to get their bearings, a second explosion sent a greater sense of panic, which accompanies the realization that we've just been attacked.
And just white smoke all in the air. It was just traumatizing. I don't know how else to explain it.
Officials said the explosions came from 2 smaller devices. As a result, images of destruction from blown out windows to chaos as the injured made their way across the finish line in a way they never could have imagined. From runners in shock to spectators visibly anguished. And then the image of the remaining runners held back by police, not knowing the extent of what they missed by just mere minutes.
You have your runner and you have your belongings. Leave the area immediately.
In response to today's attack, President Barack Obama vowed to keep working.
Make no mistake, we will get to the bottom of this. Any responsible individuals, any responsible groups will feel the full weight of justice.
And tonight, we know a 3rd explosion nearby was not related, and 2 other explosive devices found nearby were dismantled. Marty?
All right, thank you, George. More than 100 Central Floridians ran in the Boston Marathon, and many others were there to watch it in person. Eyewitness News reporter Ryan Hughes continues our live team coverage now at the Track Shack shoe store in Orlando. And Ryan, the owners of the store were among the local people in Boston today.
John Hughes had finished the race 30 minutes before the 2 explosions. He and his wife Betsy were on the 32nd floor of the Marriott Hotel when they looked out and saw smoke everywhere. Other Central Floridians were among it as well.
When explosions rocked downtown Boston, hundreds of people with Central Florida ties were in the midst of it all.
I turned to a friend and said that was a bomb, and we contemplating it being fireworks. And boom, and then boom, the second one goes off.
Jeff Foldenauer is a Lake Brantley High School graduate who was in Boston to take in the sights and sounds of the Boston Marathon. Never did he expect an ending quite like this.
Everyone's supposed to be finishing the Boston Marathon, and they're running the opposite direction.
He told us silence fell on the streets in the minutes after the bombings as emergency workers and everyday people rushed to help the injured. 34 people from Orlando signed up to run the marathon. More than 100 Central Floridians participated in all.
Hi, I'm Betsy Hughes with Track Shack in Orlando, Florida.
This woman and her husband have deep ties to running and road races and were in Boston at the time of the bombings. Betsy and John Hughes have owned the Track Shack shoe store on Mills Avenue in Orlando for more than 3 decades.
Betsy texted over at the event office and let them know that both she and John were fine.
We stopped by the store late today.
Of course, at first, it was a big scare for us.
But tonight, a big relief because the owners and other employees who were in Boston for the race are okay.
And at this point, we don't know if any Central Floridians are among the dead or injured. Live in Orlando, Ryan Hughes, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Maybe some good news there. Thank you, Ryan. Today's explosions are prompting the Orange County Sheriff's Office and the Orlando Police Department to increase patrols at some events here. And that includes the corporate 5K race at Lake Eola this Thursday night. This is video from last year's race. More than 15,000 runners and walkers are expected to participate. The sheriff told us there will be tighter security measures at that race because of what happened in Boston today.
It's showtime for us. This is what we train for. This is what we work for on a daily basis to ensure that we're able to keep this community safe. And that's what we're going to do in this process.
Sheriff Demings also told us the sheriff's office will meet tomorrow to discuss ways to step up patrols in Central Florida's tourism area. This story obviously will be developing throughout the night, and you can count on us to keep you up to date on what's happening when you wake up. You can find updates on Eyewitness News Daybreak beginning at 5 a.m. And we have you covered online. We are posting updates on our Twitter and Facebook accounts all the time, and you can also check out WFTV.com. Wow, what a day.
A real horrible day.
Two parents are facing charges tonight accused of starving their young child, going so far as to put locks on the refrigerator.
Investigators say John and Jacqueline Bailey were arrested after a teacher noticed their 11-year-old daughter was extremely malnourished. And we discovered John is a teacher's assistant in Tavares and used to be a police officer. Eyewitness News reporter Renee Stoll is live at Arnold Palmer Children's Hospital, where this little girl is still being treated tonight. And Renee, she only weighs about 40 pounds.
Well, when police took her into the hospital, they noted in the report that her body is so malnourished, she looks more like a 7-year-old, not 11-year-old. And according to this report, it's not hard to believe, considering that the only food she was given access to was a spice rack in the home.
Scary that stuff like that happens and you don't even know, and it's 2 doors down.
Neighbors to John and Jacqueline Bailey are shocked to hear some of the horrific details of child abuse police say went on behind closed doors at this Tavares home. According to reports, the husband and wife singled out the 11-year-old daughter they shared among 3 children living there. Police say they withheld food from her by locking the refrigerator with chains, to the point that she weighed 40 pounds.
My son's 3 and 40 pounds, so yes, that's scary.
Police also found alarms put on the girl's bedroom door so her parents knew if she was sneaking out to get food, plus proof of wounds on her feet from having to stand in bleach when she misbehaved. We were there as John Bailey's adult son came home.
Was it true that he locked the refrigerator door and would let you go in but not your sister?
I really just don't want to have an interview.
What may be even more shocking is that John Bailey is a retired police officer who most recently served with Lady Lake Police. And now he's an assistant teacher at Tavares High School. Today, the school district put him on leave without pay until they can conduct their own investigation. Bailey's students at the high school were surprised by the news.
It's weird. It's crazy. I never would have thought that about him.
Now, the report also indicates that the Baileys forced this young girl to do strenuous exercise at night. That way it would tire her out and she wouldn't wake up in the middle of the night trying to get more food. Marty?
Renee, I know there are some details you have left out because it's just too much information, really. And you said 2 other children were in the home. Did they have any signs of abuse?
Those children, 2 children, had no signs of abuse. This one girl was singled out, but because of the incidents that occurred, those 2 children have been placed with a relative tonight. Reporting live at Arnold Palmer Children's Hospital in Orlando, Renee Stoll, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, thank you, Renee. And right now, a road has just reopened following a rollover crash. This is a live look at the southbound side of the 417 near Curry Ford Road in Orlando. Completely clear, as you can see, after the last fire truck left about 5 minutes ago. About an hour ago, however, this is what it looked like. An SUV flipped on its roof, and troopers were working to get someone trapped inside. No word yet on what caused the crash.
A judge refused to grant an injunction to keep 3 Brevard County schools from closing. The school board voted to close Clear Lake Middle, South Lake, and Gardendale elementary schools as part of $30 million in cuts to balance the district's battered budget. The county and city of Titusville argued the school district violated an interlocal agreement. A committee recommended the district delay the closures, but the judge saw no reason to grant that injunction.
It's been emotionally draining. It's just been really time-consuming. It's kind of taken over our lives, I feel like, at times.
The district is still facing a second lawsuit alleging racial bias is behind the decision to close these 3 particular schools. There will be a request for an injunction in that case next month.
Tonight, an accused killer was moved to a new jail for his own safety. Bestman Okafor was in the Orange County jail, but he's since been moved to Seminole County for what the jail is calling protective custody. But we haven't been told why. Okafor is charged with killing Alex Zaldivar last September to keep him from testifying in a home invasion trial. He was supposed to be on home confinement at the time of the murder. The case prompted a review and ultimate suspension of Orange County's home confinement program.
A registered sex offender is back behind bars tonight, accused of molesting 2 young boys when they were all living in a Kissimmee motel. Robert Bill Grafton is facing 157 counts of sexual battery. Deputies say Grafton met his victims and their parents years ago and became so close with them the kids even called him Grandpa. The parents allegedly became suspicious of abuse when the kids stopped wanting to spend time with Grafton. Parents who heard about this say it makes them sick.
People like that shouldn't be on the streets. God willing, they'll keep them away for a real long time.
Grafton moved to Florida after he spent 15 years in a Pennsylvania prison for rape. Deputies do not have evidence to suggest there were any other victims.
New tonight, a major cable company that serves some residents here in Central Florida is pulling gun commercials from its cable network. Comcast Spotlight, the local sales division of Comcast Cable, told us it is no longer accepting advertising for firearms or weapons. Comcast officials say that policy aligns them with the guidelines in place at many media organizations. By the end of the week, we could find out the list of potential candidates competing to fill the city manager's seat in Fruitland Park. We told you earlier this month when interim city manager Stephen Cottrell resigned because of his confrontations with other leaders. He'd only been there a few weeks. Cottrell replaced Ralph Bowers, who also resigned following allegations that he forced a female employee to have sex. The city will hold a special meeting on the issue Thursday. Shocked parents called 911 when they saw a naked man jogging around their Seminole County neighborhood while their kids were nearby.
Well, when I saw him, I told my friends to run to my porch and hide.
The strange excuse he had when police found him lounging on top of this electrical box.
All clear now, but I'm updating Future Track 9 to show you where we could see fog by morning and if it could be heavy. That's next.
Later tonight on Nightline, we'll have the very latest in the aftermath of the explosions near the finish of the Boston Marathon. Over 100 wounded, at least 3 dead, including a child. Plus, we'll have the unfolding investigation inside who did this and why.
New tonight, horrified families called 911 when they spotted a strange man jogging and lounging around their neighborhood. That wasn't strange enough. The fact he was also naked made it even stranger.
It sure does. Police say Russell DeSaro was even roaming past children. This happened at the Villa Del Mar apartments in Altamont Springs. Eyewitness News reporter Kenneth Craig found out he had a very bizarre excuse when police caught up with him.
6-year-old Carmelo Anthony Diaz was one of the first to witness the bizarre series of events.
I said, Mommy, there's a guy who has no pants, no shirt, and no T-shirt on.
According to police, it was 42-year-old Russell DeSaro roaming around naked in this apartment complex filled with children in broad daylight. His mother was horrified.
Scary. It's scary. It's scary. It's scary.
That is when residents started calling 911.
Okay, what's going on?
There's somebody walking around on his without his underwear.
Okay.
It looks like he's on drugs or something.
One neighbor told police she saw the man jogging down the sidewalk naked.
All the way down the end.
This man says he later spotted DeSaro lounging on this electrical transformer, pants off and without a care in the world.
He's sitting there, not really moving much. Yeah, just stuff out.
When police arrived, they found DeSaro still sitting, but this time on an AC unit and in just a T-shirt. He told police he wasn't on drugs, just had 2 beers and was in the complex taking pictures and sightseeing, even though he also lives there. Police arrested him for indecent exposure and disorderly intoxication. Parents tonight told us they're still on edge.
How's that make you feel? Very uncomfortable.
Kenneth Craig, Channel 9, Eyewitness News.
The suspect has since bonded out of jail. We tried to reach him by phone and at his home to get his side of the story, but we could not reach him.
Tonight, the family of Frank Wright, who was killed and his body burned in a car, is waiting for the county to release his remains so they can hold a memorial service. Wright's body was discovered in the car near an Orange County home Thursday, almost 24 hours after he was last seen heading to his mother's old house in Apopka. Orange County deputies have no motive and no suspects, so they're asking the public to come forward with any information. Deputies believe Wright's truck and boat were dropped off at an apartment complex on Lee Road in Winter Park sometime after his body was found.
In Brevard County, a termination hearing is set for Friday for a former Port Canaveral police sergeant who used shooting targets that resembled Trayvon Martin. Ron King was fired last Friday. We got an internal memo from Port Canaveral officials today that says he told a colleague he bought 100 shooting targets that look like this one and brought them to the firing range earlier this month. The Martin family attorney told us Trayvon's parents are aware of the incident.
The parents are just trying their best to not think of their son as an image for target practice. It just makes no sense to them.
King said in an online video the targets were not meant to be shooting targets.
New tonight, the mayor of Holly Hill said the city may consider changing its new flag ordinance that recently received such backlash. As we told you last Thursday, Eddie Calismo was being fined $300 a day for flying 7 flags outside his nonprofit. A new ordinance requires permits to fly flags. But since our story aired, many have complained to Mayor Roy Johnson about the new rule. Johnson said his main goal was to limit advertising banners and flags. The ordinance will be up for discussion at its city council meeting, and that'll be April 23rd. The Museum of Arts and Sciences broke ground on a brand new museum in Daytona Beach today. The C.C. and Hyatt Brown Museum of Art will be 26,000 square feet with art galleries, a cafe, and a gift shop. It'll be a flood-resistant expansion of the existing museum that flooded back in 2009. As you can see in these pictures, the museum is expected to open in January 2015.
Hey, it was a nice day today, right? As I recall. Haven't been out of the building for a while.
Nice and warm day. It was a little different than yesterday. Yesterday was stormy.
It was
today,
a mess.
Nice and clear, and we've cooled down from our high of 90, and it's all clear out there. A couple of low clouds are trying to get going, but by tomorrow morning, as you look out this camera, there may be a little fog to deal with for your drive to work, but it will be a dry night, generally speaking. The next time we see rain like we did yesterday, well, it'll likely be a while. Melbourne, almost 4 inches of rain yesterday with the thunderstorms. That brings the yearly total almost back to average, just under 8 inches of rain since the beginning of the year. That's almost to the 9-inch average. So good news in Melbourne, but you had to deal with a little flooding to get there. Now in Orlando, in the metro, we had anywhere between, say, a few tenths of an inch to over 2 inches. At the airport, over 3/4 of an inch yesterday. That brings our total over 3 inches, but we're still 6.5 inches drier than average for the year in Orlando and in Daytona Beach, despite an inch of rain yesterday. And pretty calm night tonight on Doppler 9 HD. We are tracking a few isolated showers here just offshore of southern Brevard County. So if you're in Valcarry or Mico, maybe a sprinkle in the next couple of hours, but this rain is really falling apart. Nothing to get excited about. The moisture we'll be talking about will be the potential for fog by morning. It's 75 degrees right now in Orlando, 67 in Titusville, and we'll be watching as you drive to work from Palm Coast to Flagler Beach in Flagler County all the way down through Volusia County, especially inland toward DeLand and into the metro for the potential for some patchy fog by morning. I don't think it'll be widespread dense fog. However, some areas of fog will be something to look out for. Temperatures low 60s in Ocala to low 70s in Cocoa Beach and mid 60s in Orlando for morning temperatures. On Future Track 9, you can see this here, this little fog from Flagler, Volusia, Northern Lake, Marion counties as well. Even some areas of southwestern Polk County with some patchy fog. So just keep that in mind. Should dissipate by 9, 10 o'clock. And we're picking up a few isolated sprinkles here towards 3 p.m. But I think they'll be just too far west, even if they can get going. So we'll go with a mainly dry day for tomorrow, and we'll have a couple more to follow. So highs tomorrow pushing into the 80s. A nice and warm day, but not quite as hot as today in the villages, with highs around 87 in Orlando, 86 in the villages, and 77 in the Palm Coast, with a nice onshore flow that will continue for tomorrow and Wednesday. And then our eyes are going to be on Saturday. Here comes our next front and our next big chance for thunderstorms. So monitor that forecast. Your 5-day forecast with the weekend always in view. A couple of nice days ahead. We really ramped the rain chances as we head up towards Friday night and Saturday. Then that cold front will cool us down for Sunday, at least a little bit, with a lingering chance for rain and a high temperature of 80 degrees.
Channel 9 Eyewitness News Daybreak, bringing you up-to-the-minute live coverage of breaking news.
Let me give you a live look at what they're doing right now.
Up-to-the-minute developments on the major news from overnight.
It has been going strong for about 4 hours now.
Up-to-the-minute weather, an accurate forecast for the day ahead, and up-to-the-minute traffic reports with alternate routes to get you to work on time.
I did just work out another alternate route for you.
Channel 9 Eyewitness News Daybreak, up to the minute you're up. It's coverage you can count on.
Doppler 9 HD radar is driven by
Toyota of Orlando, I-4 across from Millennium Mall.
Tonight, we have video of what Marion County deputies say shows them stopping a driver who was trying to race away from deputies. And check out this video. You can see the deputies using what they call a pit maneuver to cause the car to spin out. Investigators say they were trying to make a traffic stop along Highway 326 last night when the SUV driven by this man, Kenneth Cox III, took off. Tonight, he faces multiple charges. A man accused of chasing his wife in a car and then beating her out in the street could walk out of jail tomorrow. 39-year-old Patrick Hicks faced a judge today. He was arrested Sunday after Altamont Springs police say he chased his wife down State Road 436, causing her to crash near I-4. Then police say he got out of his car and punched her and kicked her. He was granted bond but did not post it in time to get out of jail tonight. At last check, the innocent driver who the wife crashed into was listed in serious condition.
A Carnival cruise ship and a Disney cruise ship each helped rescue groups of Cuban nationals found on rafts in the Gulf of Mexico. The crew of the Carnival Conquest spotted a group about 40 miles off the coast of Key West on Friday. Carnival says the ship brought the people aboard the ship and provided them with food, water, and medical treatment. And then the Disney Wonder picked up 8 people about 45 miles off Key West Thursday afternoon. Well, today's been overshadowed by the sad news in Boston. Today's bombing's possibly the worst thing ever to happen at an American sporting event that we can recall.
Yeah, I can't think of anything like it. And tonight, the rest of the sports world has responded to this, Joe.
The Boston Bruins hockey game was canceled tonight, as well as the Boston Celtics home game tomorrow night. Other teams around the country held moments of silence, including the Orlando Magic, showing their support tonight before their final home game of the season. Magic hosting Chicago on their Fan Appreciation Night. They also unveiled their new logo for their 25th season next year. Tough game for the Magic. Tobias Harris gets the early layup to go here. He finished with 20 points. Nick Vucevic had 17, 14 rebounds. Magic led by 2 at the end of the first quarter, but they were outscored by 20 over the final 36 minutes, eventually losing 102-84. That's the third time in franchise history they've lost at least 29 games at home. Now, the good news for Jacques Vaughn and the Magic, Charlotte won tonight, so Orlando is now tied for the worst record in the NBA. But because the Magic went 1-3 against the Bobcats, Orlando would have the best chance of getting the first overall pick in the draft. All they have to do now is lose at Miami in their season finale on Wednesday. Now, meanwhile, back in Boston, the Tampa Bay Rays played the Red Sox at Fenway this morning in the day game that is traditionally played on Patriots Day in Boston. The Red Sox won 3-2 thanks to a walk-off RBI double from Mike Napoli. The game finished up just after 2 p.m., about 50 minutes before the marathon bombings. Despite flights being grounded for security, the Rays were able to fly to Baltimore for tomorrow's game. All right, in college basketball, the best non-senior on UCF's roster considered leaving school for the NBA, but on the eve of the NCAA's deadline decided to remain a Knight. Isaiah Sykes led the team in scoring and assists and was second in rebounds. He had until tomorrow to tell the NCAA if he would come back for his senior season. He made that decision tonight, choosing to lead the Knights into their first season in the American Athletic Conference. Soccer fans sat through 2 lengthy weather delays during last night's Orlando City home opener. Everyone who stuck around was treated to a 3-1 Lions win over Rochester, but the team also announced today anyone who bought a ticket, whether you were at the game or not, will get a free ticket to their game on April 30th against the VSI Tampa Bay. All you have to do is take your ticket stub to the Orlando City offices in Winter Park or just bring it to the game that night. We'll be right back.